So questions of time and quantity. How many videos do I need to create? How many lectures do I create for my students? How long does it take me to create a lecture from start to finish? And how long is the resultant video that I create? Well, let's address the easy one first. I create a lecture for every day of my class minus the exam. So any day that I would be lecturing normally, I create a video lecture for that. The second part of the question. How long is that video? Well, it depends somewhat. I will teach in a 50-minute class, and I'll end up with about a 15-minute video. I'll teach in an 80-minute class, 80-minute class, and I'll end up with about a 20-minute video, somewhere around there. Now, the topics are going to vary. They're going to vary based on how comfortable you are with the content, but I'll get back to that in a moment, and how much content needs to be covered that day. So if you had a day where you covered an entire chapter, feel free to extend the content a little bit. It's going to be a little bit more time, but you can address more of it. Now, that's the thing I'm really excited about. When I teach a topic, usually, I'm bounded by the amount of time I have in class. Now, usually it's 50 minutes, or 75 minutes, or up to 80 minutes. But that's all I have, and if people ask maybe informed and interesting questions, that cuts into my ability to teach content. And so I end up either rushing at the end, which does no service to anyone, or I need to cut off content of some sort. I'm sure you've all skipped a slide before. That's not the case here. If I have content that I need to cover, if it's going to be a 25-minute video instead of a 15-minute video, not that big of a deal. I can still send that out and I'll say, this is great, look how much more content I can cover if I need to in this amount of time. I can go into greater depth about a given example, or I can provide an example that I think is going to be informative. So the question of how long the videos are, it's usually about 25 to 33% of the amount of time that I'm allotted in the class. But if it needs to be longer, it's really not that big of a headache for students. It's another 10 minutes of video at maximum for them to watch, and I can cover a great deal of content I just did not afford to cover before. That's one point. Alright, now the other question, how long does it take me to create a 15 to 20 minute lecture video? Well, I always use 6 slides when I teach one of these videos. So, when I record one of these videos, and I always take them in one take. That's a big part of this, is that I'm not concerned about going, oh, I missed a single word during this, or I stumbled on my words. I just keep rolling with it. And so the recording part takes as long as the video is, more or less. The production of those boards, those 6 boards associated with my lecture, and the culling down of information from the textbook and from my previous lectures and from my own experience to writing, I would say takes about an hour to an hour and a half total. I'm pretty used to the content that I'm teaching though, and so that may vary for you. The writing up of the boards itself takes about a half an hour to make sure that I have all the details and I have thought about it as I wrote them out. And that's a great thing for me. Instead of just going through a slide deck and assuming that I can speak about all those things when I get into class, I have had to have written out all the words. Every word that's there is there for a reason, and in writing them out I think through what I'm going to say when I use them. So the process of writing them out isn't just time wasted. It helps me present better, it helps me think through the content and clarify it well. The part before that depends on your own particular way of gathering information. If you read through a textbook, if you're working with a new edition, if you're working on a new class, that time could vary greatly. You may need to go out and research additional information to put into it, but it's the same sort of preparatory work that you would do when you were writing lecture slides into a PowerPoint or a Prezi or whatever. So think about the amount of time that you spend on that preparatory work. Think about the amount of time that you'll need to spend writing out the boards, again about a half an hour, and then the amount of time that you'll spend speaking in front of the boards, for me between 15 and 25 minutes. That's the amount of time it should take to film every lecture. Repeat that for the number of lectures that you have in your course usually, that is every class minus the exam days I'm assuming, or any activity days that you have, and you'll have the total amount of time needed to invest to create an entire set of video lectures for your course.